Hans Dragunov, the Master Gun. Model L3-E7, the Master Warforged. Reed Goodfellow, the Master Artificer. Wallace D. Martin, the Master Merchant. Inksy Belak, the Master Traveling Musician. Busk, the Master Milkman, and his giant badger, Cat. Alyur Alyur D, the Master Dancer. Abigail MacDonald, the Master Arcane Detective. Mavra, the Grand Master Healer. Aaron Arkwright, the Master Bounty Hunter. Stanton Xanthar, the Master Civil Beholder. Donovan Beauregard, the Master Vengeful Ghost. Violet Evershade, the Master Lich. Athena Maplestorm, the Master Herbalist. And Azalea Greentrees, the Master Ranger. These 15 guildsmen, you among them, went missing several weeks ago. Despite all our searching, you are the first lead we've gotten on this case. You claim to have the full story. So, lay it on me. Spare no detail. Where did our guildsmen go? We're recording now.
We're recording now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
As the crash reverberates throughout the room, everything is still as everyone stares at the skeleton below what remains of the chandelier. The silence is broken as Mavra moves forward, saying, "Everyone, do not panic. We will take a look at this." And she leans down to examine the skeleton. What do?
Examine skeleton? I don't know. I want to look at him. What's he doing over there?
Yeah, for sure. Reed, you walk on up behind Mavra, where you are quickly joined by both Donovan and Violet in the back. You can see in your peripheral vision these two figures that you didn't notice before, that being Azalea and Aaron, have both exited their hiding spaces and are kind of sticking to the back of the crowd to have a look. And you get on closer and see a normal human skeleton. Would you mind making a investigation check for me real quick?
You investigating. Okay. I rolled a 7.
A 7.
A 7.
With a 7, you're just kind of squinting away at this skeleton. You don't see anything peculiar about it. You get a little closer and find the only weird thing about it is that it is shockingly not bruised up. Like, none of the bones seem to be broken. Sure, they're disassembled, but there's like a little crack in the middle of the skull, and that's about it. As you squint and look a little closer, Donovan floats up behind you and gets a closer look at the skeleton, picking up the skull. Certainly interesting, isn't it? And he shakes the skull. And Reed, you hear a familiar jingle of gold coins. Mavra looks over at Donovan and says, Okay, Mr. Beauregard, put that down for now. We need to figure out what happened here. And she looks down and squints harder, starts poking around. You see her hands glowing just a little bit, when all of a sudden she jumps back very suddenly, making anyone nearby flinch just a little bit. And she looks around and says, Everyone, back up! Back up! And the room backs up, giving the skeleton a very wide berth as the bones begin to move. Not just move, they float and begin assembling. Foot to head, they go up and up and up, clicking in place at joining joints until a fully intact skeleton stands before everyone, and its empty eye sockets flare to life with tiny pinprick flames. And as this happens, something that had not crossed the minds of anybody wheels on up to the skeleton. It's the little automaton that hung out around the door. Detecting the movement of the skeleton, it zips on up in front of it and says, Please pose for your photo ID. The skeleton, in a jerky motion, turns its head towards the camera lens and simply stares.
I
And
think
with
it's better if you dance.
the skeleton looks over at you, Hans, and says, Really?
Oh yes, really. It gives a lot more character. You know, I'm an inanimate object, but I think my photo came out pretty good.
Well, that's fair enough. That is much more fun. And it flails its arms around mid-click, and what prints out is a photo of a blurry armed and legged skeleton mid-dance. The motion blur is real on this one, and with shocking nonchalantness, the skeleton walks on up to the robot, takes the photo, and the marker that was provided nearby starts filling out the section. Well, at least it tries to fill out the section. And you see it just stands there staring at the photo with the marker posed just over the name part. This is the point that a couple people come to their senses, and you see Aaron step forward from the shadows, brandishing a short sword that came out of literally nowhere. Just thin air it popped on out of, and he presses the short sword up to where the throat would be on this skeleton and says, Who are you? Exactly. And the skeleton turns over to Aaron again with that creaking motion that makes the coins in its skull jingle just a little bit. And it looks down at the paper, looks back at Aaron, and then it shrugs. I know for sure I am a guild member.
There's a door, you know? You didn't have to come crashing down from the ceiling.
I like it though, that's character.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it also has property damage charges.
I think I've caused enough of that for tonight, but yeah, that's true.
the skeleton turns around, perhaps noticing for the first time the scene that it has caused. And from the background, all of you spot Azalea Greentrees sidling on over to the door. She fumbles with the doorknob and then looks around at everyone else in the room and says, "The door is locked, everybody. The door is locked." And there is that sort of calm before the storm as everyone processes this. And two things happen at once. Busk starts running towards the door, shoulder facing forward in a sort of football tackle, clearly prepared to bust down the door. And then, at the same time, the skeleton looks down at the ID and the name section, and slowly, with great trepidation, writes a name. And Reed, since you're the closest, you can just barely make out over the sounds of Busk's very fast-moving footsteps the sound of the skeleton saying, Roberto. That is my name. And then the door is open, going into splinters. And through the door, Busk disappears into a thick fog, which begins rolling into the room with great speed. It is at this moment that the panic breaks out in earnest. You see Wallace look around and he says, "Screw this!" And he starts flying on up to some of the windows that line the upper parts of the walls. And he dives on through with a sound of shattering glass. But it seems the fog is through the windows as well, as he disappears down into it, and it begins rolling in from that window as well, soon covering the floor with a slowly rising tide. I am going to need everyone except Hans to make a Constitution saving throw.
Get right.
Okay.
I remember how to do that.
Wait.
Oh, wait.
21.
Oh my goodness, roll.
Gamers.
Hey.
Oh, I got a 20.
Ayy.
Ooh.
21 and a 20?
Yeah.
That's
Whoa.
I have a
You
I have like a
gamers.
+4 Constitution, so
I have +8.
okay then.
What?
You didn't have to flex it like that.
L.
Well, that's fine. The three of you, your instincts perhaps kick in, and Hans... Oh, wait, hold on. Got this a bit backwards. Hans, you don't need to do anything. Reed and Alyur, as you watch the fog rolling in, you feel compelled to hold your breath as long as you can. And sure enough, as the busk starts getting past chin level for some of the shorter people. Reed, you spot Azalea breathe in the fog and then slump over on the ground unconscious.
Whoa.
This
Oh, no.
continues as the fog rises and panic spreads along with the sound of bodies collapsing to the ground. Hans, you are a gun, so you don't need to breathe.
Nope. I do not. Wow.
Meanwhile, those who decided to try to hold their breath or who don't need to breathe have remained upright. Through the fog, Hans, you can hear Leets say, "Anyone who still has lungs, do not breathe. I repeat, do not breathe the fog. We need to clear this out. Get out of it."
Still has love. What?
And at the same time, Alyur from off to your left, you can hear Donovan saying, "Who's still up? Hello? Who's still here? I can't see anything in this fog." And as the fog thickens, I'm gonna need Reed, Hans, and Alyur to all make dexterity saving throws with disadvantage.
Ooh. Dexterity.
Oh, wow.
Disadvantage.
Disadvantage.
I got a 10.
I got 15.
Cool. Hans, as the
I have-
fog thickens up, you suddenly feel the strange sensation of being violently put into a burlap sack.
Wow. I'm getting kidnapped.
At the same time, Reed, though you are holding your breath, black spots start darting around the edges of your vision as you start losing oxygen. But before you can lose all that oxygen, you feel a sharp but firm hit on the back of your neck and you go unconscious.
Oh, dang.
Alyur, with the best roll of the three of us, you hear these sounds go by. From where you heard Leets talking before, you hear an electronic sounding sort of jolt of distress, like a sort of... Along with that, from where you heard Donovan, you can faintly hear, muffled through what sounds like some sort of bag, him saying, "Unhand me! No! I cannot believe it!
I can't believe you've done this.
I can't believe you've done this."
Can't believe you
Can't believe you done this.
And Alyur, as the paranoia mounts up and you hear the sounds of everyone else around you being taken away, all is silent for just a moment until you two are hit firmly on the back of the head and you go unconscious.
Dang it.
Dang.
Now, Hans, I imagine this is a very different feeling trip for you than it is for Reed and Alyur. Seeing
Considering
as
that I'm not unconscious.
you're not unconscious, you're in a bag. You can definitely feel someone or something lugging you around for a couple minutes. And then you feel a bit of a bump as your bag is dropped somewhere. And then you feel gentle movement like you're in some sort of vehicle. Next to you, there are a couple other thumps, presumably as several other bags hit the floor nearby you. But
Is there any way I can get out of my bag?
I mean, as far as you can tell, it is a normal burlap sack.
Huh.
So, yeah, if you'd like to try to attempt an escape of some sort, you are welcome to.
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Uh, uh, I'll leave it for now. I'll let myself get kidnapped. Is there much space in the burlap sack? Like, could I like theoretically like pull out a chess set?
I'm gonna say there's probably, well, it's a pretty tight fit. They needed to make the bag big enough to, like, bag you effectively, but at the same time, it's probably not super even ground in there.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, I'll just wait it out. I am intrigued as a gun, obviously.
That sounds good.
Mhm.
Hans, you wait in eerie silence as you feel a bump of what you assume is a wagon of some sort, maybe? You can't hear any sort of sounds around you. Eventually, what felt like a bump, bump, bump of the road turns into something else. You hear the rushing of wind go by. It's an unknowable amount of time that goes by. It could have been anywhere from an hour to a day or two. It's genuinely unclear as you sit there and wait. And then, all of a silent, all of a sudden, silent as a shadow, your bag
Ooh.
is opened up and you are grabbed by the pommel. Or the guard. What would be the right word for the part of the gun you grab, normally?
The,
Like a
the,
handle?
the part of the gun that
The
you grab, which, I don't know.
The
The
gun.
grabbing part of the gun.
Like the handle? The grip?
the grip sounds right.
Mhm.
I don't
Hans, you
know
are
gun
firmly
then.
grabbed by the grip. And before you can get a good look at who might be gripping you, you are shoved forward and forced to look upon what seems to be a strange glowing rune. It looks like a crosshair of some sort. There's a circle with a
Really?
vertical and a horizontal line slashing through it, with another larger circle intersecting around. And you can't help but stare for a minute as the rune starts glowing brighter, 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 until you feel the strange and foreign sensation of unconsciousness.
Excuse me?
I know.
I have. Okay.
And with that, the three of you wake up to the feeling of cold cobblestones pressed against your faces and or gun.
Gun body. Wow.
And as all of you look around, you are in a strange and unknown place. Everyone else from the guild event, including your mysterious newcomer Roberto, appear to be in the same spot with you guys. You appear to be in some sort of outcropping. The ground is the aforementioned cobblestones with some patches of grass growing through, and all you can see off to the side is sky and nothing else. What do?
Uh.
Is anyone else awake? Like, are they
Everyone
all awake?
wakes up simultaneously. The first one to speak up, which takes a second or two as everyone comes to their senses, gathering their bearings, is Inksy, who looks around at everyone and says the obvious question. Where are we?
Ooh, that's a question for sure. Ooh. That's a
As
lot. There's a lot of nothing.
as that happens, Leets turns on over to the group at large and says, "I will try to determine our geographical position." And an antenna kind of zoops on out of her head with
Wow.
a tiny little
Nice.
fantasy satellite dish that starts spinning lightly as she starts making bleep bloop sounds.
Wow.
In the meantime, Wallace, who was last seen diving through a window, looks around at everyone and says, "Okay. Clearly something fishy is going on. Mavra, this wasn't part of the guild event, right?" And Mavra looks on over to him and is like, "No. No. Most certainly not."
Just great.
Super cool. Very nice.
And then, off to the side, you hear two sounds coming from two different directions. For one thing, you hear a ding from the direction of Leets, who looks around to the room at large. Well, I say room, it's a fairly open space. And says, "I cannot find our geographical location."
What?
And at the same time, from the other side of this open space, you all hear a scream, high-pitched and undignified, and everyone turns their heads over to see Miss Violet Evershade clutching at her arm as she stares. And she says, "I've been marked! My skin has been inked against my will!" And as she says this, and people come on over to investigate, sure enough, on her left forearm, on the inside patch of skin, there appears to be a tattooed sigil of some sort. It's diamond-shaped, with two bat or dragon wing-looking shapes coming off of the sides. I would like everyone to make a quick perception check for me. Hans, you do it with disadvantage.
Then we out here perceiving?
You're
Ooh.
perceiving.
Why do I do it with a disadvantage?
Well, you'll see.
Okay.
Or rather, you won't see, because you are perceiving with disadvantage.
Okay. So I got a 9 for my
Nice.
disadvantage thing. Otherwise, I would have had a
16.
25.
Nice.
At 12.
I got 16.
I guess we aren't out here perceiving.
Well, I'll give it to Alyur. Alyur,
Yay. I'm doing good today.
as she is sitting there, well, standing there, screaming wildly about her forearm, you can't help but glance down to your own left forearm. And sure enough, there, inked onto the bare skin, is a sigil of your own. It appears to be two elongated fours, like the number, with a line between them, dividing them top and bottom. You, with your dancing background, recognize it to be some sort of stylized 4/4 time signature.
That's music. What are you talking? Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, you dance to music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm goofing. Okay, team.
Okay. Well, he'll just kind of look at it and be like, I think I have one too.
And everyone looks on over at you, and sure enough, they glance down, see your strange time signature ink. And it is at this point that there's kind of that silence wherein there lies an epiphany. You see Wallace off to the side, look down at his left forearm and part some of the feathers, and he lets out a gasp of indignation, like a sort of, oh, how do you even tattoo a talon? It's mostly cartilage! And sure enough, he flashes his forearm to everyone else, and there is a strange, unrecognizable looking symbol. It kind of looks like an hourglass, but wide at the middle bit. Like two trapezoids that you stacked on top of each other in a reflecting sort of way. And as Wallace shows everyone his tattooed forearm, immediately it becomes clear what's going on. Everyone looks on down to their arms, and sure enough, each of them has a symbol that was not previously there. Reed, as you look down at your arm, you see,
Whoa.
almost laughing at you in how it's sitting there so innocently, a stylized symbol of a spade. Not a shovel, like the sort of spade you would see in a deck of cards along with like hearts, clubs, and diamonds. And Hans, though you do have great trouble looking at yourself, you see a nearby pool of water, just a puddle, really, that you gaze on into, and sure enough, not tattooed, but scratched into the side of your gun body, you see that same crosshair-looking symbol that you saw, well, for you, just a minute or two ago, as far as your perception goes. Immediately, as panic starts to rise, as everyone looks down and sees these tattoos, Abigail starts walking around. A little detective's notepad seems to come out of nowhere, and a little spectral quill appears. She starts going from person to person, looking down at their symbols on their arms and marking them down on a page of paper. Though it becomes quickly apparent as she tears away pages and just lets them float that she is not actually doing the writing herself. The spectral quill seems to be hovering gently in place, scratching down these notes onto the pieces of paper as she walks around. And by the end of a few panicked minutes, the completed list is handed out between everybody, which I shall now present to everyone. And the part that freaks out quite a few people is that it's not just tattoos for the people who wouldn't be able to have a traditional tattoo like Leetz or Hans. It seems to be scratched on very professionally, though, almost as if done with blacksmith's tools. Even Donovan, he appears to have a similar sigil burned onto his sleeve, which, as he stares at it, he looks up at everyone else in horror and says, "Only holy water could mar my skin in this way." And with that, the calm starts lowering down into the zone as everyone tries to get bearing on their situation and look around. I would like to ask, during this moment of panic, what would everyone like to do?
What is going on? Ah!
Why is mine so boring?
Yeah, honestly, that's fair enough. Alyur, as you go around comparing, it's like, dang, what's the deal with that? You got, like, lines compared to everyone else. Like, Mavra got like a cool, stylized looking heart. Or like Roberto, who you just met, but don't trust the guy, like, at all. You see, etched into the bone of his forearm is like a compass looking thing. And perhaps that is the moment that you note idly. Roberto appears to be fully clothed. So, fully clothed might be overstating it a little bit. Like, if there could be default adventurer's garb, he's wearing it. It's like boring sort of pants where the legs have been rolled up a bit. No shoes or socks of any sort, just bare skeletal feet. He's got a plain linen shirt with many buttons undone, and seems to have a compass hanging around his neck with a leather cord.
Okay. Now I just remembered that Roberto exists. So I want to go over to him and flick him in the head and be like, "Hey, did you have something to do with this?"
Roberto looks on over at you and says, "What exactly would make you think I would betray the guild? I've been a proud member since..." And then he kind of gets a faraway look in his eyes. Since I wouldn't betray the guild. And
I don't know. You kind of just fell from the ceiling, ruined everything. Immediately after that, this fog comes in, everyone gets knocked out, and suddenly we're here. Has anyone even seen this guy before?
As you say that, a couple people nearby look on over, squint their eyes, and they're sort of muttered, "No, no, no." It would be worth mentioning at this point, Hans, you know everyone in the guild. You do not recognize this Roberto. But he seems to be claiming fairly aggressively that he is a member of the guild. And as you two are arguing, Reed and Hans, I'd like you guys to make perception checks for me real quick.
Ooh. Okay.
24.
Excellent.
20. Dirty 20.
Epic.
As this is going on, both of you start idly wandering on over to a ledge, a very wide ledge in this area, where all you could see out of it was the sky. And as you lean on over and look down, all you see is the sky below as well, and a few stray clouds going by. Though, as you do that, many less perceptive people may have gotten distracted by this seemingly floating area. Both of you notice as what you initially think to be the same fog, but soon realize is closer to frost, begins creeping over the edge of the platform in slow, wispy waves. And Hans, it clicks in your head just a second before things start kicking off. And you recognize it as not a normal frost, but the frost of a dragon's breath. And you leap backwards as a large and imposing dragon flies on up from the ledge below and lands in the center of this area. I am going to need everyone to roll for initiative.
P.
We fighting. Fight
We
a dragon.
fighting.
Oh my
We
god.
fighting the dragon.
17.
11.
Okay.
That's a 19. Oh, very nice. Okay. With that, Alyur, you are the first in the initiative order as this dragon swoops on up from below and is clearly meaning to do harm to you and your fellow guild members. What would you like to do?
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. That's a dragon.
I don't know. Your call.
Is it a very big dragon?
I don't think you need to roll a check for it. You know roughly how big most dragons should be. This one is fairly small. You would say it's a wormling as opposed to an adult dragon. But
So, like,
it is still like a solid 10 or 15 feet tall.
I don't know.
Fight the dragon. Hit it with stuff. I don't know.
I can't poke the dragon. May land. Well, I mean, I could try, but it's probably gonna be a disaster.
I don't know, it's your call.
Okay, fine, I'll poke it. Give it a little poke. Okay, now I rolled a 7.
Yeah, that definitely does not get through the dragon's AC. Is this with your lance, by the way?
No, it's with my finger. Of course, it's with my lance.
Understandable. Yeah, you take your lance out of somewhere and try to get a stab out on this dragon, but the blow glances off of the sharp metallic scales of this dragon, which, by the way, it is worth pointing out at this point. Its coat is very much silver.
Thank you for telling me that after.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Normal dragons, the AC is still buck wild, so you know. Next in the order is going to be Reed. Reed, what you up to?
Right. Ooh, doing things in the game. That's crazy. Okay. What do we got here? So, would say maybe I don't know. It's dragon scary. Ah.
Dragon
Okay.
is scary.
I'm gonna do. Can we do a scorching ray? That's a thing that I can
You
do.
can absolutely do a scorching ray. Do you need to roll to hit, or is this me rolling to avoid?
I think it's a you roll Constitution.
Okay. I will roll Constitution real quick.
Actually, wait. No, I have to roll. Never mind.
You'll have to roll. Okay. Well, good thing I rolled a natural one. So
Yeah,
you go.
I'm very good at D&D. I rolled a 16.
16.
Yeah,
16's not gonna do it.
cool. Awesome. Very good at the game.
So why don't you tell me flavor your failure real quick?
Okay. Well, he is like, okay. Dragon shows up. He's like, oh my gosh, I gotta shoot this thing. And but he just woke up, man. He's like, okay, I gotta shoot, and he shoots 3 scorching ray thingies. It's 3 whole rays, and then it miss. It's like, oh man. Maybe like, I don't know. Yeah.
Understandable. Okay, so next in the order is Hans. Hans, what do you want to do?
I know it's a little bit too far gone, but I am going to try and have a peaceful conversation.
Oh my god. Do you remember what happened last time?
We don't talk about that. Hello. Do you understand me? I say in Draconic.
Understandable. Okay. Yeah, the dragon does not acknowledge you at all.
Can I say it louder?
Go ahead.
I say it very loud. I use my loud gun physique.
Understandable. Enunciate those consonants with gunshots.
Yes, exactly, you know? But like non-threatening gunshots. Like I'm firing blank.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so all that does is gets its attention and it turns on over to you with fury in its eyes, and you can see it's starting to build up a breath weapon.
Oh.
Breath weapon? Whoa.
You know how it is when they build up the breath in their mouth that is a weapon.
That's crazy.
Okay. Can I still do actions?
Yeah.
Talking is not an
Talking's a
action.
free action.
Okay, perfect. Is there anywhere to hide?
Give me a quick investigation check.
Okay. Oh, you can see it. It is a 10.
Yeah, with that, despite the fact that this is like a shockingly open area, like to give you an idea of the space, there's pretty big cliff-like walls around you in this big open space. There's obviously that one ledge nearby that is wide open to the expanse of the sky. Besides that, you see maybe a couple tunnels that seem to lead off somewhere else, but besides that, there's really nowhere to hide.
Dang. Okay. Well then, I guess I will. Can I still try and go into the tunnels or?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to. I am hovering, moving as a gun would, very
Yes.
quickly.
Okay.
You know, moving is
If you'd
easy
like,
too.
you could take a dash action.
Sure. I dash to the.
Well, that is if you don't want to attack or anything.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no attacks for now.
So then, dashing and using your movement, you're able to get a good, well, for one thing, out of the heat of this battle, and you get a good 20 or 30 feet away from everyone else and are hiding behind a rock wall in one of these tunnels that you see extends out a little ways, then seems to go around a corner. You can't quite see through all of it.
Okay, perfect.
Next in the order, which is how I'm going to handle 13 other people being here, is everyone else. There's a bunch of attacks that go off all at once, but some notable attacks that catch your guys' eyes are that of Aaron Arkwright and Azalea Greentrees. Aaron lashes out with the crossbow hidden underneath his sleeve, which he fires off, but it glances off of the dragon's metallic hide. He then proceeds to pull out a scimitar, again from seemingly nowhere, that he slashes across the face of the dragon with a shockingly high leap. And yet, it doesn't seem to do any noticeable damage. It rings through the battlefield with that sort of metal-on-metal ring that's real nasty. In the meantime, Azalea has turned on over with a longbow that's just a little shorter than she is. And as she fires off an arrow, once again, it glances off the hide of the dragon completely. Next in the order is gonna be the dragon.
Uh-oh.
And as promised, the dragon lets out a breath weapon, Hans, in your direction. Along with that, standing nearby, who would be nearby? Reed was right near you when the dragon first showed up. Along with that, you're near Roberto and Abigail, though no one else seems to be close enough to get caught up in this breath weapon. I am going to need both of you to make Constitution saving throws.
Work perfect.
Me too.
Yep.
What?
I got a 12.
A 12?
14.
14. Okay. Reed, you manage to dodge out of the way of the blast, taking a little less damage than everyone else who ended up getting caught up in it. You take 4d8. Halved. Let's just do that real quick. 5, 6, 11, and 18. Okay, Reed, you take 9 cold damage, and Hans, being unable to avoid the blast of this icy chill, you take the full brunt of it with a full 18 cold damage.
Dang, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. And with that, we're back to the top of the order with Alyur. Alyur, what do you want to do?
I don't know.
We're fighting this dragon. What are we supposed to do?
Am I able to firebolt it?
Yeah, give it a shot.
It's like an icy boy.
It is kind of an icy boy.
Icy boy. Okay. 11.
11's not gonna do it.
Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately, the firebolt sizzles against the cold skin of the dragon. Reed, it's your turn.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm gonna bring out an Eldritch Cannon at this point, cause this freaking guy.
This freaking guy.
Freaking guy.
So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna attack. I'm attacking.
Sounds
I'm
good.
attacking him with my flamethrower. We're flamethrowing him.
Okay.
I
Flamethrower, I believe I roll.
believe so. I think it is a 12 dexterity.
Okay,
Save.
let's roll some dexterity for this boy.
How fast? How dexterous
Is this dragon?
is this dragon
Not terribly dexterous.
to avoid my epic?
That is a 17.
No!
So, apparently quite dexterous. The dragon deftly avoids the fire of your boy. Does that mean, like, no damage or reduced damage?
Let me take a look. I don't remember.
It is half.
It's half?
Yeah, it's half.
Okay, well then that would be 6 damage.
Woo!
6 fire damage.
At least you
dr-
actually damaged it.
Yep. Okay. And Reed, that is a bonus action. Is it a main action to summon the Eldritch Cannon? Or are you able to take an action now?
Yeah, my main
that-
action is summon cannon, bonus action is
Use
cannon.
it. Sounds good. Okay, Hans, your move.
Perfect. Okay, so I have a bad news.
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
The
cool.
gun.
Hans, your body shifts and clicks as it starts moving in strange mechanical ways, and you go from being a small gun that would fit in the hand of most normal people into being a full-on 5-foot-long big gun.
Imagine like a Sailor Moon type transformation.
If I knew how to animate.
Okay.
Oh, every time. Every
Okay.
time.
This is
I
to hit,
kinda-
Caleb.
Whoa!
how
Yeah, that's gonna do that. That hits. Roll for
Okay.
damage.
Yay!
This is the damage.
Ooh. How much damage? Oh man, that's a powerful gun. Okay.
How much gun do we have?
I mean, it's a good thing you've got a good gun on your side, because the dragon takes 20 damage in
Dang!
a powerful punch of a shot as you
Shot.
maybe not full on headshot, but like you definitely get
Ear
it
shot.
solidly in the side, and it glances around in great fury, trying to determine who it was that struck at it. Next in the
I
order
am
is gonna
behind a
be
wall though.
you are behind a wall. I will say it probably does not see where you are currently.
Perfect.
So as that's going on, a couple more people from everyone else get on in this. You know, through all of this, people have been making constant attacks for little bits of like chip damage and all that. The notable attacks that we are highlighting this turn, all of you watch as Donovan floats very, very fast towards this dragon, and for a split second, all of you watch as his jaw unhinges, revealing massive and terrifying sharp teeth, which he attempts to bite down on the dragon. At the same time, his fingers seem to extend, revealing sharp-tipped claws that he also tries to strike at the dragon with. But with a 7 and a 2, unfortunately, despite having a reputation for being a terrifying and vengeful ghost, his blows glance off of the hardened scales of the dragon. At the same time, view pans on over to our good friend, Inksy Belak,
What?
The best character!
with a shaking hand, pulls a dagger from their pocket and makes a clumsy throw of it towards the dragon. Boom. And with an unnatural 20,
Oh,
our good pal hits the dragon for 3 piercing damage.
yeah!
E for
We love
effort.
you, Inksy.
A for effort and actually hitting the dragon.
Yeah, that's more than what a lot of us can say.
Okay, so anyways, next in the order is the dragon. The dragon is honestly mostly looking for Hans, but, you know, since there are people in the neighborhood that could be struck at, and Inksy did just throw a dagger, the dragon is going to bite down in Inksy's direction. Alyur catching you in the bites crossfires as well.
Oh, dang it.
Which is going to be, that is a nat 20. So I am, I'm sorry, technically a 26, since it's 20 plus 6. Okay, cool, so that's going to be double damage as per the rules of this game. Boy howdy. But not as bad as it could be. It's gonna be 14 piercing damage for you, as it takes both you and Inksy up into its jaws and keeps you up there.
Ah, P. Okay.
Luckily, Alyur, it is your turn.
Am I like in its mouth?
Oh yeah, you and Inksy are actively being crunched right now.
Can I attempt to firebolt in its mouth?
Absolutely, and that will give it disadvantage.
Okay, I will press the
Unless with a
correct button now.
firebolt, it's you hitting it, so you get advantage on your attack.
So then do I like...
You roll twice and take the higher number.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I press the correct button this time. Ooh, a 19.
A 19?
Yeah, and then an 8.
Hey, you gotta respect the effort. You fire a firebolt right down the throat of this dragon, and it almost seems to hit whatever icy blizzard or tempest is boiling up in the belly of this beast. And there's a puff of white smoke that comes on out of the mouth, and it spits the two of you out onto the ground as it takes that 8 damage. It is looking pretty worse for wear, though, Alyur, in that moment, I would like you to make a perception check real quick.
Okay. Perception.
We are perceiving.
11.
You perceive nothing out of the ordinary as you are
Dice.
spit on out, which honestly makes sense considering you're kind of busy throwing a firebolt down the throat of this dragon and are flying through the air as you get spat onto the ground. Next in the order is going to be Reed. Reed, what are you doing?
I want to try to shoot it again with my cannon.
You do that. Right. I make a dex save.
Dexterity.
No.
Please lose.
That is going to be a 10. I
Yeah!
lose.
Let's go! We are 12 fire damage.
Yippee.
And with a final blast, I would like to ask, Reed, how do you down this dragon?
I'm like, okay. He's like, dude, come on! Get out of here already! He just tries, it's like, there's third time's the charm, man. We're gaming. I don't know. He doesn't say we're gaming. I say that. It's different. Anyways, but he fires and it hits, and the dragon is dead, gone. Apparently, I don't know.
Well,
Not dead.
I'll tell
Probably
you what's
not.
up. The dragon collapses down, but it quickly becomes apparent that it's not collapsing in a traditional animal-like way, and perhaps it was just the heat of battle that made all of you fail to notice something pretty key about this dragon. Metallic sounding... Whoa.
You okay?
Sorry, I swallowed some air unexpectedly. Let's just back that up. Back that up and try. Back that up, try again. With metallic creaks and screeches, the dragon's limbs begin falling off as it collapses to the ground in a great metal clatter. It falls apart into many pieces, and through those pieces, you hear the zap, zap of electricity. This was not a true dragon, but only an automaton. And in a very dramatic, almost video game-like explosion, it is reduced to rubble. And almost as soon as it is reduced to rubble, from previously unseen hidden compartments up towards the top wall area of this room, a little speaker slides on out, and from that speaker, all of you hear a voice. The voice says, "Testing, testing. Is this thing on? Yes? Excellent. It's time to begin the game." And in a puff of white, frost-like smoke, a figure appears, human-looking initially, but along his face there are some stylized, silver-looking scales that don't remain silver all the way through. Some areas appear black and tarnished. He is wearing a very well put-together suit and top hat, with a cane, the top of which has a stylized silver dragon head on it. And Hans, with your keen eye, you realize one thing looking at this figure. This is the real dragon.